starseed from Gaia. If your chest tightens every time someone says you are too much, and you swallow your tears so you do not scare love away, this transmission is already touching the wound you were taught to hide. Dear starseed from Gaia, I am Selenia, emissary of the stellar heart healers, speaking through the blue field of Pleiadian remembrance for the women who feel everything before the world admits anything. By the end of this transmission, you will understand why your intensity is not a flaw to soften, but a sacred filter choosing the souls who can meet you in truth. As we open, know that the book The Heart Portal Activation, the Pleiadian Code of Divine Relationships exists, and the link sits in the first pinned comment. The first key is this: when they called you too intense, too deep, too emotional, they were not naming your excess, they were revealing the small room inside themselves. Your depth was not the storm that broke the bond. Their unprepared heart was the vessel that could not hold water from your soul ocean. Beloved one, you have been shrinking your voice, dimming your desire, measuring your tenderness, and apologizing for the very frequency that calls your true union home. Stop asking if you are acceptable to those who need you smaller before they can feel safe. Ask instead, is this soul mature enough to receive the flame I carry without trying to make it convenient? Your emotional power is a gate. It will close before the careless, the half-present, the unhealed, and the lovers who only want your light when it warms them, not when it reveals them. So if this truth is already rising in your body, comment 111:1. I will not shrink for love. Like this transmission so it reaches your Pleiadian sisters, and subscribe to stay in the heart field. The second key is to recognize what was placed upon you before you ever chose it. Many of you were trained to confuse peace with silence. In your childhood home, your tears may have been called drama. Your questions may have been called rebellion, and your strong feelings may have been treated as a burden. You learned to read the room before reading your own heart. You learned to make yourself easy to manage so others would not leave, explode, withdraw, or punish you with coldness. Some of you received this message from a parent who did not know how to hold emotion. Some received it from a former lover who wanted your body, your loyalty, and your healing energy, but not your truth. Some received it from friends who preferred your light when it entertained them, but felt threatened when your discernment became clear. And some of you placed it upon yourselves after years of being misunderstood. You began repeating the words they gave you: too sensitive, too demanding, too attached, too serious, too difficult to love. But hear me, beloved. A child who feels deeply is not defective. A woman who notices hidden changes is not unstable. A soul who needs honesty, presence, and emotional depth is not asking for too much. You were adapting to environments that had less capacity than your spirit. Their limitation became your label, and their label became your private law. What I have just described has a name, and it is why I set down the heart portal activation. If you have ever felt your chest open for someone you were not supposed to want, or lain awake defending a connection nobody around you understood, this is the map for what is actually happening inside you. It opens the heart portal in stages, so that what feels like chaos becomes something you can read. This is not about earning the love you want by suffering correctly. You are not being tested, you are being prepared. Every month you spend calling this confusion, you postpone the union it was preparing you for. The link is in the first pinned comment below. The third key is to separate your essence from the wound that formed around it. Your intensity may have been covered by fear, but fear is not the same as intensity. Your sensitivity may have been mixed with anxiety, but anxiety is not the same as sensitivity. Your longing may have become desperate after repeated rejection, but longing is not the same as desperation. The world may look at the survival response around your gift and then judge the gift itself. You may have sent too many messages because someone kept giving mixed signals. You may have over-explained because someone made you defend every feeling. You may have held on too long because someone alternated tenderness with distance. This does not mean your heart is wrong. It means your heart was trying to find safety inside an unsafe pattern. I ask you to stop using the worst moments of your pain as evidence against your nature. A frightened expression of love does not cancel your capacity for sacred love. A season of jealousy does not erase your ability to trust. A moment of emotional flooding does not prove that you are incapable of mature union. It only shows why your nervous system still expects abandonment. The Galactic Federation of Light has shown me the energetic difference between a woman who is truly too much for a connection and a woman who is simply being asked to become less. The first situation contains mutual honesty, responsibility, and a willingness to grow. The second contains shame. You feel yourself editing your words before they leave your mouth. You calculate how long to wait before replying. You hide your joy because enthusiasm might frighten them. You pretend not to care because caring gives them power. That is not harmony. That is self-abandonment wearing the clothes of romance. The fourth key is understanding why your intensity acts as a filter. Every authentic frequency creates a response. Light reveals what is ready to be seen, and it also exposes what has been hidden. When you enter a connection with emotional honesty, a person must meet themselves in your presence. They can no longer remain vague without becoming visible. They can no longer offer half love and call it freedom. They can no longer avoid the deeper conversation forever. This is why some people feel drawn to you and then retreat. Your energy awakens desire, but it also awakens accountability. They feel the warmth of your heart, and then they sense the depth beneath it. They realize that being close to you will require them to become truthful. The immature soul wants your softness without the mirror. The mature soul understands that your depth is not an accusation. It is an invitation. Do not chase the one who is fascinated by your light, but frightened by your ocean. Fascination is not compatibility. Chemistry is not always a promise of union. Sometimes chemistry is the soul recognizing a lesson, not a home. Sometimes the strongest pull comes from an old pattern asking to be completed. Your body may feel electricity around someone who is emotionally unavailable, because your system recognizes the familiar tension. This is why discernment must stand beside desire. Ask what happens after the attraction rises. Do you feel more present, or do you become obsessed with proving your value? Do you feel spacious, or do you begin monitoring every word? Does the connection invite your truth, or does it reward your silence? Your answer will reveal more than their beautiful promises. The fifth key is to read your body as a messenger of alignment. Your body has been speaking before your mind could form an explanation. Around a compatible person, you may feel a quiet expansion in your chest. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your thoughts do not have to sprint ahead, searching for danger. You can enjoy the moment without preparing for its ending. This does not mean a sacred connection will never bring fear. Divine union can activate old wounds because love brings hidden places into the light. But beneath the trembling, there is a current of safety. You may feel nervous and still feel respected. You may feel vulnerable and still feel free. You may not know what will happen, but you do not feel forced to betray yourself to keep it happening. Around an incompatible person, your body often becomes tired before your mind agrees. You leave conversations feeling drained. You rehearse what you should have said. You feel an invisible pressure to perform calmness while your inner world is shouting. You call it a powerful connection because the energetic swings are intense, but your soul may be asking you to notice the cost. Lightness is not always boredom. Peace is not proof that there is no passion. Many women trained by unstable love mistake anxiety for depth because anxiety is loud. The aligned connection may feel unfamiliar at first because it does not keep you guessing. There is no constant emotional emergency to make you feel alive. There is space for laughter, ordinary days, and a love that does not need to injure you to convince you that it is real. The sixth key is reclaiming energetic sovereignty. Your heart is sacred territory, not a public waiting room. You are not required to give everyone immediate access to your fears, your history, your body, or your dreams. A person can be worthy of kindness and still not be worthy of intimacy. A person can be attracted to you and still lack the discipline to care for what attraction awakens. Energetic sovereignty means you no longer confuse being open with being unguarded. You can be loving without explaining your entire soul to someone who has not shown consistency. You can listen without becoming their therapist. You can feel compassion without volunteering to rescue them from the consequences of their choices. You can honor a soul connection and still say no to its current behavior. This is especially important for the women who sense potential before they see proof. You see the wounded child inside the distant lover. You feel the tenderness beneath their defenses. You know what they could become if they faced themselves. But beloved, you are not assigned to love someone into readiness. Potential is not a relationship. A future version of a person cannot hold you today. Let access be earned through patterns, not purchased with declarations. Watch how they respond when you express a need. Watch whether they repair after conflict. Watch if their affection remains when you are not providing comfort, beauty, sex, inspiration, or endless understanding. The one who can meet your depth will not demand that you prove your worth by tolerating neglect. The seventh key is to understand the loneliness that follows self-respect. When you stop accepting shallow connection, there may be a quiet interval. The old contacts fade. The familiar, unavailable person loses interest because your old role is no longer available. Your phone may become still, and a part of you may wonder if you made a mistake. You did not make a mistake. You created space. The silence after release can feel like rejection, but often it is protection. You are no longer filling the sacred space with people who only know how to take. This empty season is not evidence that you are unlovable. It is the passage between one frequency and another. The soul union you desire cannot enter a room crowded with old bargains. Some of you have been lonely beside someone for years. You have had a relationship, but not reception. You have spoken, but not been heard. You have shared a bed, but not a world. The loneliness of being unseen can be more painful than the loneliness of being alone. When you finally choose solitude, the pain becomes clean. It no longer asks you to betray yourself every morning. Do not rush to remove that clean pain with another confusing bond. Let your system learn the difference between emptiness and peace. Let your heart discover that nobody is not the same as nobody will ever come. A pause is not a prophecy of permanent isolation. It is a recalibration of what your energy will allow. The eighth key is the transformation of rejection. I know some of you still remember the person who said your feelings were exhausting. You remember the lover who admired your passion until it asked for honesty. You remember the friend who disappeared when you stopped being endlessly available. You remember being left with the belief that your truth had driven them away. But sometimes rejection is the soul's emergency exit. Sometimes the door closes because your higher self knows that staying would require years of inner disappearance. The ending may not have arrived with an explanation, an apology, or a fair exchange. Yet an ending can still serve your awakening. Do not measure your worth by the ability of another person to recognize it. A closed heart cannot become open because you knock more beautifully. A person who fears emotional responsibility may call your needs excessive simply because your needs interrupt their comfort. Their judgment does not carry the authority of the universe. Your past connections were not wasted. They showed you where you overgave, where you ignored the first signal, where you confused being chosen with being cherished. They brought your hidden contracts to the surface. Perhaps you believed love meant waiting without limits. Perhaps you believed understanding someone meant excusing everything. Perhaps you believed your patience could create their maturity. Now you know more. The ninth key is to stop asking, "Will they accept me?" That question places your entire identity before an uncertain judge. It makes their readiness appear more important than your truth. It encourages you to audition for a role in a life that may not even nourish you. Replace it with a stronger question. Is this person prepared to receive me as I am? Are they prepared for your directness without calling it aggression? Are they prepared for your tenderness without exploiting it? Are they prepared for your desire without reducing you to a fantasy? Are they prepared for your boundaries without treating them as punishment? Are they prepared to meet your emotional world with curiosity instead of contempt? This question changes the center of gravity. You are no longer standing outside their heart, waiting for permission to enter. You are standing inside your own heart, deciding who may approach. You become the guardian of the portal. There is no cruelty in choosing compatibility. You do not have to make an enemy of everyone who cannot meet you. You can bless them and move away. You can understand their history and still refuse their pattern. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-erasure. Love with sovereignty becomes a sacred force. The 10th key is learning what mature reception feels like. The aligned woman does not need a perfect man, and she does not need a relationship without challenge. She needs a partner who remains present when the connection becomes real. He does not punish honesty with withdrawal. He does not make you compete with uncertainty. He does not use your sensitivity as a weapon during conflict. He may need time to process, but he communicates that need. He may have wounds, but he takes responsibility for healing them. He may not always understand your experience immediately, but he does not mock what he cannot yet understand. He seeks to know you instead of reducing you to a label. With him, your intensity becomes conversation, not crisis. Your depth becomes intimacy, not a threat. Your emotions become information, not evidence that you are broken. You can say, "This hurt me," and the bond does not collapse. You can say, "I need reassurance," and you are not shamed for having a nervous system. You can say, "I want more," and the request is met with truth rather than manipulation. This kind of connection may not announce itself with dramatic fireworks. It may arrive as a steady warmth that grows each time the two of you honor reality. Your soul will recognize the absence of performance. You will no longer need to make yourself mysterious to remain desired or endlessly agreeable to remain safe. The 11th key is to release the belief that being chosen is the highest form of love. Many of you were taught to celebrate selection, even when the person selecting you did not know how to cherish you. You called it victory when the distant one finally replied. You called it destiny when the inconsistent one returned. You called it passion when the connection repeatedly broke your peace. But being chosen by someone who cannot hold you is not the same as being received. A person may choose your beauty, your comfort, your loyalty, or your healing gifts while refusing your full humanity. They may want the parts of you that serve them and reject the parts that require them to grow. Being received means your whole presence has a place. Your joy does not threaten them. Your sadness does not disgust them. Your ambition does not compete with them. Your spiritual perception does not make them feel weak. They do not ask you to divide yourself into acceptable portions. This is where the heart portal activation becomes a quiet companion, because it helps you recognize whether a powerful pull is opening your heart or reopening an old wound. The 12th key is to trust the first whisper before it becomes a scream. Your intuition may begin with a small tightening, a delayed answer inside you, or a sense that the words and energy do not match. Do not insult that, knowing by demanding courtroom evidence. You are not required to wait until betrayal becomes undeniable before honoring discomfort. At the same time, discernment is not the same as fear. A healed intuition is clear, steady, and specific. Fear often races through every possible disaster. Intuition may say, "Slow down." Fear may say, "Run, abandon, attack, or prove yourself now." You can respect a message without obeying the panic. Give the connection time to reveal its structure. Do not fill every silence with fantasy. Do not translate every glance into destiny. Let reality participate. A compatible person will still be compatible after the first mystery fades. An incompatible person needs your imagination to complete what their behavior refuses to provide. Notice how you feel after setting a boundary. If you feel guilt, that does not mean the boundary was wrong. Guilt may simply be the old conditioning leaving your body. Notice whether relief follows. Notice whether your energy returns. Notice whether the other person responds with respect or tries to pull you back into your former position. The 13th key is that your sensitivity is an instrument, and every instrument needs care. You cannot remain open to every signal all day and expect to feel clear. Protect your mornings from chaotic messages. Give yourself time away from the screen. Move your body after intense conversations. Write what you felt before asking 5 people what they think. The more you inhabit your own energy, the less easily another person's mood becomes your command. You are not here to absorb the emotional weather of every person you love. You are here to participate in relationships where energy moves both ways. Mutuality is a spiritual law. If you are always listening, calming, forgiving, waiting, and understanding, while the other person only receives, the exchange is not sacred simply because you feel connected. Your heart needs nourishment, not only purpose. Your gifts are not a permanent emergency service. You are allowed to be held. You are allowed to have needs that are not immediately transformed into lessons. You are allowed to desire romance that is soft, passionate, clear, and embodied in daily action. The 14th key is to welcome the attraction that does not require self-betrayal. When an aligned soul approaches, you may notice that you do not have to perform your value. You do not need to reveal your deepest wound in the first hour to create closeness. You do not need to become endlessly available to keep interest alive. You do not need to pretend indifference so the other person will chase you. You can be warm and still move slowly. You can be honest and still keep mystery. You can desire commitment and still observe whether the person has the capacity to build it. This is not playing games. This is allowing trust to become embodied through time. Your future partner may be drawn to your intensity because it gives language to what he has always felt, but could not name. He may see your emotional depth as a form of courage. He may feel safer because you do not demand that he hide behind performance. When you are both mature, your differences do not become weapons. They become doors into greater understanding. The 15th key is to stop returning to the courtroom of the past. You have explained yourself enough to people committed to misunderstanding you. You have presented evidence of your loyalty, your patience, and your good intentions. You have tried to make a former lover understand that your tears came from care, not control. You have tried to convince someone that your questions came from a desire for clarity, not conflict. Let the verdict be released. You do not need their agreement to become free. You do not need them to admit that they mishandled you before you can honor what happened. Closure may come through your decision to stop placing your worth in their hands. The soul does not ask you to erase the past. It asks you to remove the past from the driver's seat. You can remember without returning. You can grieve without reopening the door. You can love what was beautiful without accepting what was harmful. And as you do this, your intensity changes texture. It is no longer a plea to be chosen. It becomes a radiant standard. It says, I will not abandon myself for closeness. I will not call confusion a contract. I will not confuse being desired with being known. The 16th key is the moment your relationships begin to reorganize around your truth. Some people will call this change selfish because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some will say you have become cold because you no longer answer every emotional summons. Some will accuse you of thinking you are better than them because you finally believe you deserve reciprocity. Do not let the discomfort of others pull you back into an old shape. A boundary will feel offensive to the person who depended on your unlimited access. Your growth may look like rejection to those who are accustomed to being rescued. Let them have their interpretation. You have a soul to protect. The Galactic Federation of Light is strengthening the field around women who are ending ancestral patterns of emotional self-denial. You are not only changing your dating life, you are changing what love is permitted to feel like in your lineage. The women before you may have survived by enduring. You are learning to thrive by discerning. This does not mean you will never compromise. Love asks for flexibility, patience, and repair. But compromise should meet you halfway. It should not demand that one person disappear while the other remains untouched. A relationship becomes sacred when both souls are willing to be changed by truth. The 17th key is to recognize the difference between being mirrored and being managed. A true partner may reflect your impatience, your fear, or your guardedness, but he will not use those reflections to control you. He will invite awareness without demanding submission. He will say, I want to understand what happened inside you, not stop feeling that way. A controlling connection makes you responsible for maintaining the other person's comfort. You cannot ask questions. You cannot have friends. You cannot be tired. You cannot express disappointment. Every natural emotion becomes a threat to their authority. They call your boundaries drama because your boundaries interrupt their access. A mature connection can hold two truths. You can love each other and still disagree. You can need space and still be committed. You can be deeply emotional and still be accountable for your actions. Your intensity does not remove your responsibility, and their discomfort does not remove theirs. This is the balance your soul has been seeking. You are not looking for someone who worships every reaction. You are looking for someone who respects the woman beneath the reaction and joins you in creating safety. The 18th key is to let your standards become visible before attachment becomes overwhelming. Say what matters to you early enough that reality can answer. You value communication. You desire exclusivity. You need tenderness after conflict. You want a relationship that grows in the open, not one hidden behind excuses. These are not demands for perfection. They are coordinates for compatibility. The person meant to walk with you may not share every preference, but he will not treat your core needs as embarrassing. He will tell you honestly if he cannot meet them. That honesty may hurt, but it will save you from building a future on silent resentment. You no longer need to wait until you are deeply attached to discover whether someone believes in the kind of love you want. Let the beginning contain truth. Let their response inform you. A no is information. A delay is information. A beautiful promise without action is information. Your intensity becomes safe when it has direction. Pour it into creativity, prayer, movement, meaningful work, and relationships that restore you. Do not make one romantic connection the only vessel for your entire emotional universe. A future union should join your wholeness, not become responsible for creating it. The 19th key is the invitation to be seen without controlling the image. You have spent years trying to make others understand you correctly. You softened your language so you would not seem harsh. You hid your excitement so you would not seem needy. You withheld your pain so you would not seem weak. You edited your brilliance so someone insecure could remain comfortable. Now allow people to respond to the real signal. Some will misunderstand you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will leave. Some will be unable to cross the threshold. That is the filter working. If everyone can keep you, you are not choosing from truth. You are offering access without discernment. The right connection will not require a perfect presentation. He will witness the serious woman and the playful woman, the sensual woman and the tired woman, the confident woman and the woman still healing. He will not reduce you to the most convenient version. He will become curious about the whole landscape. You will feel the difference in the way conversation moves. You will not have to drag depth into every exchange. It will arise naturally. You will not have to beg for emotional presence. It will be part of the atmosphere. You will not have to make your pain dramatic enough to receive care. The 20th key is preparation through embodiment. Do not wait for a partner to start practicing the relationship you desire. Speak to yourself with the honesty you want to receive. Give yourself the reassurance you have been asking another person to provide. Keep promises to your own body. Let your daily life become a place where your sensitivity is not mocked. When you honor your own rhythm, you become less available to people who require you to abandon it. When you treat your feelings as information, you stop handing them to others as weapons. When you accept your need for depth, you stop negotiating with those who only offer surfaces. And this is how the next chapter begins. Not with you becoming less intense, but with you becoming more conscious of where your intensity flows. Not with you closing your heart, but with you placing a wise gate around it. Not with you proving that you are easy to love, but with you becoming unavailable for love that asks you to disappear. The woman who once whispered, "Maybe I am too much," begins to ask a different question. What kind of soul has the capacity to meet me here? What kind of presence leaves my body more alive? What kind of love allows my truth to expand instead of making me afraid of its consequences? Stay with these questions as the old pattern attempts to call you back. It may arrive as a familiar message, a sudden memory, or the urge to explain yourself one more time. Before you respond, place your hand over your heart and feel whether the impulse brings expansion or contraction. Your body is not trying to sabotage love. It is learning to protect the love that begins within you. The next key is to understand why your intensity matters beyond your personal comfort. You are not learning to honor your depth only so that you can feel better in your private life. You are learning this because your way of loving carries a mission. Your sensitivity is part of the medicine you bring to Gaia. Your emotional truth helps break patterns that have been repeated through families, partnerships, and entire generations. When one woman stops calling her intuition a burden, Another woman remembers that her own inner voice is sacred. When one woman refuses to abandon herself for approval, she opens a new path for every soul who has been taught to earn love through silence. When you remain present with your feelings instead of hiding them, you help create a world where honesty is safer than performance. This is why your healing cannot be separated from your relationships. Every bond you choose teaches your energy what love is allowed to feel like. Every boundary you keep tells your nervous system that you are worthy of protection. Every time you leave a connection that requires your self-betrayal, you interrupt an old agreement that may have traveled through your bloodline. Your soul did not come to Gaia to repeat the same story with different faces. You came to recognize the pattern, bless the lesson, and choose a different ending. You came to show that devotion does not require suffering, that passion does not require chaos, and that loyalty does not mean remaining where your spirit is continually dismissed. The Galactic Federation of Light has watched your passage through these lessons. We have seen the nights when you questioned your own value because someone could not meet you with care. We have seen you search for a reason in every silence, every delayed reply, every change in affection. We have seen you turn another person's inability to love into evidence against yourself. But now the light around you is changing. You are no longer being trained to wait for recognition from those who benefit from your uncertainty. You are being trained to recognize yourself before anyone else confirms what you carry. This is a holy turning point in your mission. The first key is to know that your discernment is part of your service. You are not meant to welcome every person into your heart simply because you can understand their pain. Your compassion is not an open door without a guardian. You may see why someone is wounded and still decide that their wound cannot be placed against your spirit. The second key is to remember that the right connection will not fear your emotional language. It may not understand every feeling instantly, but it will be willing to listen. It will not punish you for needing clarity. It will not use your vulnerability as a weakness. It will not demand that you become less expressive so that it can avoid becoming more honest. A soul-aligned partner does not need you to be perfect. This person may have their own fears, their own growing edges, and their own moments of uncertainty. But there will be a sincere movement toward repair. There will be responsibility after conflict. There will be curiosity instead of contempt. There will be a willingness to meet you in the place where truth is spoken. The third key is to stop confusing emotional distance with emotional strength. Some people have been praised for needing nothing, saying little, and remaining untouched. But a closed heart is not always a strong heart. Sometimes it is simply a heart that learned to survive without support. Your strength is not measured by how little you feel. It is measured by your ability to feel deeply without surrendering your wisdom. You can be tender and discerning. You can be passionate and grounded. You can desire union and still maintain your sovereignty. These qualities do not oppose each other. They complete each other. The fourth key is to release the need to make your truth easy for everyone to understand. There are people who will only respect your boundary after they have argued with it. There are people who will call your clarity selfish because it ends their access to your energy. There are people who will describe your self-respect as coldness because they preferred your constant availability. Let them misunderstand what they are not ready to honor. You do not need to chase every false interpretation and turn it into a courtroom. Your life will become the evidence. Your peace will become the answer. Your relationships will reveal the difference between being wanted for what you give and being cherished for who you are. The fifth key is to let your mission include receiving. You are not here only to be the healer, the listener, the strong one, or the woman who understands everyone else. You are also here to be held. You are here to experience love that notices when your light is tired. You are here to receive tenderness without having to collapse first. Allow the right person to contribute to your peace. Allow them to ask how you are, and remain present for the real answer. Allow them to bring consistency, warmth, and effort into the space you once carried alone. Receiving does not make you dependent. It makes the relationship reciprocal. A balanced union does not drain one soul, so the other can remain comfortable. It creates a living current between two people who are willing to bring their full humanity. Your intensity will not be a problem there. it will become a language. Your tears will not be an inconvenience. They will become a doorway to deeper truth. Your joy will not be called excessive. It will be celebrated as life moving through you. I now speak directly to the part of you that still believes rejection was proof of unworthiness. Hear me clearly, beloved starseed. You were never broken. You were never late. You were never forgotten. You were never too difficult for the love meant to find you. You were never abandoned by the design of your soul. You were learning. You were gathering wisdom in places that did not yet know how to honor your presence. You were being separated from agreements that could not carry your future. You were being redirected from temporary approval toward lasting alignment. The empty spaces were not proof that you had been overlooked. They were making room for a love that could arrive without asking you to disappear. I decree that the shame placed upon your sensitivity is released from your field. I decree that the voices calling you too much no longer define your identity. I decree that every false bond built on your self-abandonment is losing its power over your choices. I decree that your intuition is becoming clear, your boundaries are becoming steady, and your heart is becoming wise without becoming hard. I decree that you are free to be expressive, feeling, sensual, thoughtful, and alive. I decree that your depth is protected from careless hands. I decree that your life is opening to people who can meet honesty with honesty, devotion with devotion, and emotional courage with emotional courage. With emotional courage, I decree that you will no longer mistake longing for destiny. You will no longer call inconsistency a challenge that you must solve. You will no longer pursue a person simply because the connection awakened a wound. You will learn to recognize the difference between a powerful lesson and a peaceful home. Your mission is not to convince the unavailable that love is real. Your mission is to embody a love so honest that the old systems of concealment cannot remain comfortable around you. You are helping Gaia remember that union can be conscious. You are helping other women understand that their bodies speak before their minds can explain. You are helping the collective move from attachment based on fear into partnership based on presence. This is why your choices matter. The person you welcome, the behavior you tolerate, and the truth you speak all send a signal into the field. When you choose alignment, you strengthen the pathway for others to choose it too. Your private healing becomes a quiet transmission. Your sovereign heart becomes a lighthouse. If doubt returns, do not treat it as failure. Place your hand over your heart and say, I am allowed to take my time. I am allowed to observe. I am allowed to change my mind. I am allowed to leave what confuses my spirit. I am allowed to receive love that is clear, kind, and consistent. Then ask yourself, does this connection give me more access to my soul, or does it make me perform for access to another person? Does my body soften because it feels safe? Or am I exhausted from trying to prevent abandonment? Am I being loved as a whole woman, or only appreciated for the parts that serve someone else? These questions will guide you toward the soul union that recognizes your frequency. Do not force the answer. Your body often knows before your hope is willing to admit it. Trust the feeling that remains after the conversation ends. Trust the peace that does not need constant proof. Trust the expansion that lets you breathe more fully in your own presence. And as you continue walking this path, receive the deeper continuation of this transmission in the heart portal activation, the Pleiadian code of divine relationships, a spiritual guide for starseeds seeking deeper love, emotional healing, and soul-aligned relationships. This edition is available for a limited time only. The link is in the first pinned comment below. Let this guide meet you where spoken words awaken the doorway and written wisdom helps you continue through it. Return to its pages when you need to remember that your heart is not a problem to solve. Return when an old bond tries to persuade you that loneliness is the price of authenticity. Return when you are ready to open again, not from hunger, but from wholeness. Beloved one, the right love will not ask you to trade your soul for companionship. It will not demand that you become less alive so another person can feel larger. It will not make you wonder whether your feelings are welcome. It will meet your intensity with presence and your depth with reverence. You are not waiting for permission to become yourself. You are becoming so fully that only what is truthful can remain near you. This is the sacred filter. This is the protection. This is the preparation for a bond that can stand in the full light of your being. So carry this decree into your relationships, your messages, your choices, and your quiet moments. I was never broken. I was never late. I was never forgotten. I am not too much. I am deeply alive, and I am available only for love that knows how to receive me. If this truth is moving through you, comment Elave11. I will not shrink for love. Then answer another soul in the comments with kindness, because your words may become the sign she needs today. Like this transmission so it can reach more Pleiadian sisters, and subscribe to remain connected to the heart field. I am Selenia, emissary of the stellar heart healers, and I meet you in the space where your authentic love is already calling its true counterpart home.